Okay, did you hear that?
Yes.
Did it ask you to click a button or something to show that you're recording?
Mm, it has okay at the bottom.
Yeah, just click it, and if you don't want to put your face on, you can turn off your camera or something like that. That's fine with me. Whatever you want to do. Okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So I'm recording right now, and
Oh wait, actually, really quickly before I forget, do you think we can go until 11 today? I need to go somewhere
oh
before I
yeah,
go to
totally.
work.
Yeah, we can go to 11. In fact, what I want to do is like a few minutes before we wrap it up, I'm gonna see if I can send you this recording. It's gonna be a big file, so it might not let me send it on email. And if that's the case, I will make a YouTube video and just send you the link to it. Okay, but we'll find out before we leave. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's go back to that practice set, and I might have skipped number 8. Let me bring it up here on the whiteboard. By the way, you said you tried a couple. Did they go? Did they work out okay? The ones that you tried?
They were all right, yeah.
Okay. Let me know which, if you circle them or take a picture, like I said, and send them to me if you get stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up number 8 right about now. Let me share this with you. Can you see that problem 8 right now?
Yes.
Can you also see the little um, screen with my face on it, or is that
Yeah.
about now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, all right. That's fine. I just it was on the it was kind of in the way. But all right, so I don't think we did this problem. I don't remember doing it, but it's number 8, and we must have skipped down to number 9. Does this seem familiar to you?
Um, yeah, no, I know we've done it before.
Do you feel like you could do this one?
Um,
If not,
let me try to just find my notes. I didn't know we were going back over this. I like to, if I'm reviewing, I need to study before I review because I don't,
that's
things
fine.
get jumbled up when I try to figure it out, just looking at a problem, trying to figure out if I can figure it out or not.
Not a
Then my
problem.
brain starts racing. So I,
Me too. I'm the same way, so don't even worry about that. Um, but take your time and let me know. Take a few minutes to look at this one.
I don't even think I have notes for that. So.
Okay. Let me let's get it set up and let's use what we've already learned about percents. Remember the little memory aid that I told you about? And how do we? What was that little memory aid?
Say that one more time.
What was that little memory aid that we used for is and of for percentages?
Is over of equals percentage of 100.
Right. Is over of is equal to percent over 100. So we need to find what we need to find what they're asking us. B is what percent of A. Okay? So we don't know the percent. Can we call that X?
Yeah.
It's always over 100. And so we want the value, it's unknown. that is next to the word is to be in the numerator and the unknown that is next to of to be in the denominator. So what would be on the top here? The A or the B?
20,
Say that again.
20.
Um, just the part that I have in the red circle.
Say that one more time. Sorry. I think my
Let's
phone is
focus for a moment on just the part that I have in the red circle.
okay. Sorry, I turned off my thing. Hold on. Kick me out the Zoom meeting. Okay. B over A.
Well, yeah, B is next to is, right?
Yeah.
That would go here. And then A is next to of, so that would go here. Now we'll focus on, let me use a different color here. Now we'll focus on this part. And this is actually broken up into two other parts. So first we're going to write 60% of A. Now 60% could be written as a decimal, and that's 0.60. And 60% of A is 6.60 times A. But it says that it is, or it's equal, right? It says it right here. So we're going to say is equal to 20% of B. How would I write 20% of B? If I wrote 60% of A as 0.60 times A, then how would I write 20% of B?
Um,
0. What?
20.
Right, 0.20 times B. Now, notice what we have in red. In red, we've got B over A. So we need to get the same thing over here. We need to get B over A, and then we'll have something that we can substitute for that. To get B over A, we've got to divide by A. Should have done that with black. Okay, well. I'm going to divide both sides by A. You don't really need the parentheses now, and then that will simplify. Yeah, right. So we'll be left with 0.60 is equal to 0.20 times B over A. Now to get the B over A by itself, which is what we're trying to find because we need to replace it. We need to replace it right here. So we just need to now divide both sides by 0.20. So go ahead and do that on your calculator. That will simplify it. What's 0.60 divided by 0.20?
3. You did it a different way.
Yeah, I did. You're right. You're right. I did. So I used what we already learned, and I'm glad you looked at that other way. So I'm going to let you decide which way is better. Anyway, I wasn't quite done, but you're right. So that's equal to 3. So we have 3 is equal to x over 100, right? They divided by 100, so we need to multiply by 100.
Yeah.
And then we'll get, if I'll do that here. If we multiply by 100 on this side and by 100 on this side, we'll get x is equal to 300, which is the answer. Yeah, I know that I did it differently. But like I said, I'm glad you looked at it, and I'm glad you can decide which way you like better. This way kind of uses what we had already gone over, the is over of and the percent over 100. So don't tell me now, or you can tell me if you want, but you go ahead and decide which way you like better. Did the other way that they did it make sense, or?
The way you just did it did not make sense to me.
And you like the way they did it on the answer key there at the bottom?
I didn't look at the answer key. I just look at whatever little piece of notes we did before, and I try to do it that way.
Okay, we did do it before. All right, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I have, but the note I have is for like rounding included. So I don't have normal percent notes, but I have the rounding ones, and those ones are just
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe like it seems like the way you just did it was longer too.
Okay. Um,
Mm, yeah, I didn't realize you were doing it different. Maybe that's why I didn't necessarily keep up because it might be an easier way.
yeah, there might be. You know what? I'm going to try a different way then. But now you'll at least have this on the recording. Okay, so you can
Gotcha.
rate if I went too fast or anything like that. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to skip to 11 unless you tell me about some of the others that you may have tried. Like let me see. Number 9 we did last time. It was how many possible outfits come from 6 shirts, 3 slacks, and 5 ties. And all we did was multiply 6 times 3 times 5 to get our answer.
Yes, I recall that.
Okay, good. Now, 10, I want to skip. We haven't even begun to talk about um, angles at all, or
No, we
special
haven't.
angles. So I'm going to skip that for today.
Okay.
Um, I do have a worksheet, but we're going to do a lot more work. So I'm going to skip to 11 right now.
Okay.
I'll paste it up. When a number is, so we need to write an equation. I need to finish reading that, sorry. When a number is when a number is subtracted from 24 and the difference is divided by the number, the result is 3. And what is the value of the number? So like any word problem, we want to define what it is that we have to find. Well, we have to find what is the number. So what would you like to call this number that we don't know anything with?
X.
X, okay. So X is our number. Now let's see what they said we do with our number. So we'll just say X is the number. Right. Now, it says that if we take this number and subtract it from 24, how would you write that mathematically? How would you write that you're going to subtract the number from 24? Is it going to be X minus 24 or is it going to be 24 minus X?
X minus 24.
Doesn't that mean that you took a number and you subtracted 24 from that number? If you write X minus 20, let me write what you just said. Don't write this down. You said you're going to take the number and minus 24. Didn't you just take 24 from the number, away from the number?
Yeah.
So we want to switch that up, right?
Okay.
So we want to write 24 minus X for that. So test yourself with that kind of a question before you write your final. We're not done with the equation yet. Before you write this expression, what does it say? So this is the difference between those two numbers, right? The difference is when you subtract them. What do we do with that difference?
Divided by something.
Divided by what? The number, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do we call the number? I wrote it down.
X.
Right, so we're going to divide it by X. And the result is 3. How do we write that the result is 3?
Equals 3.
You got it. You got it. So let's do that. Let's get rid of that. Do that. All right, so let me put my X back here. And then you said equals 3. Good. So go ahead and write that equation down. Now, one of the things about this problem is that it's fraction, the ratio. And most people don't like fractions. So how could we change it so that it's not a fraction? What did they do? What mathematical thing did they do right here with this bar? 24 minus X over X. What mathematical operation does that mean?
Divided.
Right, they divided. And what did they divide by?
X.
Good. So if they divided by X, and we want to undo that, we have to multiply by X, and we have to do it on both sides. So this side, I'm gonna write it as x over 1. You don't need to write the 1. In fact, I'm going to erase it in just a minute. So I multiplied this side by x. I'm going to put it in red, but I need to also multiply this side by x. I just did the same thing to both sides of the equation, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we can simplify these x's. Again, I'm going to get rid of the 1. We really don't need it. All we need to write is 24 minus x now is equal to 3x. This is really minus 1x, by the way, and you don't need to write the 1 there, but it might make it a little bit easier. Let me just make it neater. So how can we now get the x's together? They're on two different sides.
Add something to both sides.
Right, we're gonna add the thing that they subtracted. What did they subtract?
1x.
So we're gonna add 1x. We're gonna add 1x to this side. We're gonna add 1x to that side. Good. And that'll make it a little more room here. All right. Remove that. We can simplify. We'll make it so we can simplify these, and we'll have 24 is equal to 4x. I'll bet you can do the rest.
X equals 6.
Right, x equals 6. Let's test our answer, by the way. And you know that these are at the end of the document, right? The answers are all at the end of the document that I gave you.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're not, when it's test, we can take our number and then subtract it from 24. So 24 minus 6, and then divide it by 6, right? Divide it by the number that we got. And that should equal 3, right? What's 24, 24 minus 6? 18?
Mm-hmm.
18 divided by 6 is equal to 3. So that means our answer is correct. So we did what we always do with word problems. We turn them into equations. Turn that first, it's not a whole sentence, but it's a phrase. A number subtracted from 24 is right here. And then divide it by itself is the divide by x. All right, let me move on then. And you can review this later on the recording.
Okay.
Unless you want to tell me now if you have any quick questions.
No, I don't.
Let's go down to the next one I want to do is 13. There it is. Let me read this problem. It says John traveled 150 kilometers in 6 hours, and Alice traveled 180 kilometers in 4 hours. Now, next thing it says, it's a question. What is the ratio? A ratio is a fancy word for it's a technical word for a fraction. So when they ask us to find a ratio, they're asking us to find a fraction. And we can write ratios put this as an example. There's a couple different ways to write these. Slow and be dangerous. as a fraction or with a colon. I spelled that right. Not sure if I spelled colon right. But, all right. I'll leave it like that. Okay. It won't go away, but it's fine. Okay, so here's what I mean. If we had a fraction, I'm going to make one up here. We had a fraction like the fraction, the ratio. Let's say you went into a classroom and there were um, 18 girls and 15 boys. Let's see, I'm making this up. 18 girls. Can I put G? And 15 boys. We could write this, the ratio, we could say the ratio of girls to boys, we could write it as 18 over 15. We can reduce that. I'm not going to right now. But we could also write it as 18 colon 15. Now, there's one more way. We could say 18 to 15. And whatever word they say first, if they said boys to girls, we would switch the places of the 15 and the 18. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to set this up as a fraction and then write it with the colon.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So first, if John traveled 150 kilometers in 6 hours, so for John, we're just going to simplify 150 over 6. Let me put J for John there. And for Alice, her speed is 180 for 4 hours. So let's go ahead and get your calculator and we'll simplify both of those. 180 over 4 for Alice. Isn't that 45?
Mm-hmm.
And John is 150 divided by 6 is 25. So if we want to write the ratio, let's read it carefully here. If we want to write down the ratio of John's speed to Alice's speed, which comes first, John or Alice?
Alice.
Well, no, let me say that again. It says John to Alice. Whatever I say first comes first, right?
Gotcha.
So it's going to be the ratio or the fraction of J to A. That can also be written as J to A, or here's the way that they're going to do it, J colon A. Anyway, so isn't J going to be 25?
Mm-hmm.
And A is 45? Now, that would mean our answer would be 25 to 45. That's not on there. So can we simplify 25 over 45? I'm going to ask you to try that. Simplify, and then we'll have our answer.
That can't be simplified.
Let's try it. Let's break down 25 on the side here. Tell me what you can multiply to get 25.
5 and 5.
Yeah, 5 times 5. Mm-hmm. Now, neither one of these can be broken up any further. 1 doesn't count, by the way. You can always multiply 1 times 5. Let's do, I'm running out of room here, but let's do the same with 45. What can you, there's more than one answer that will work here. What could you multiply to get 45?
5 and like 9 or something.
Yep, you got it. 5 times 9. We could break the 9 down further, but I'm not going to. So the top is 5 times 5, and the bottom is 5 times 9. So what could we simplify here? A pair of,
Five.
good, and we're left with 5 over 9. So what would the answer be? You know what I'm saying?
5 and 9.
Right, 5 to 9 is how we say it. 5 to 9. If we don't use English to say it and we use a mathematical symbol, we would use either that fraction or this ratio notation. So letter C is the answer.
Gotcha.
13, let's check out 14 here. 14 coming up. If 40% of a class are girls and 25% of the girls play tennis, what percent of the class play tennis or plays tennis? So another way to say this is that um, before I do it, let's think about a simpler example. What if I said there was a class that had 100 students in it? Don't write this down. If there were 100 students, and I told you that 70%, no, let's do 80%. 80% are seniors. Okay. How many are seniors? What's 80% of 100? 80 out of 100, right?
Yeah.
So that would be 80. So now if I said, I should have said 80%. 80% are seniors. So that's equal to 80 students. Now, what if I said half of these seniors are athletes? Or 50%, let me say it that way. 50% of the seniors are athletes. Then we take 50% of 80, wouldn't we? And isn't that 40? Half of 80 is 40.
Mm-hmm.
So the other way, right? So this would be 50% of 80. 50% of 80 is 40. Now, what I'm going to show you is a shorter way to get that, and that's just by writing our percents as decimal. 40%, let's do this one first, the one I did in red. 80% is 0.8, and 50% is 0.5, so we could have gotten the same thing by taking 80%, 0.80, and multiplying it by 50%, 0.50, times 100, times 100. So 100%, 80% of 100, and then 50% of our answer. So if you multiply 100 times 0.8 times 0.5, you'll still get 40. Let's go ahead and do that on our calculator. 100 times 0.8, and then times 0.5, and you'll still get 40. And we're going to do the same thing on this problem. So tell me if you're ready.
I'm sure.
Not sure? Okay. So all I did here was multiply the two percentages, the 80% and the 50%, which is what we're going to do on this problem. We're going to multiply 40% and 25%.
Okay.
So I'm going to erase this part, but again, it'll be on a recording, so you can go back and look at it later. Not that part. Erase everything but that. All right, so all we're going to do here is multiply 40%, 0.40, that's 40%, and then take 25% of that, 0.25. And that will give us a percent. Would you multiply that on your calculator?
It just gives me 1.1.
I'm sorry, yeah, 25. I'm sorry, let me do that again. 0.4 times 0.25. And you got you got 0.1, right?
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that the same as 0.10?
Mm-hmm.
So what percent is 0.10?
10.
10%, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
the math was dead simple. We just needed to know why we're multiplying it. 40% of something means multiplying it by 0.40. 25% of something means multiplying it by 0.25.
Gotcha.
Taking 25% of 40%, we're multiplying these two numbers together, these two decimal numbers.
Gotcha.
Go to the next one. This one, we should be able to, we've already done this, so I'm going to put it up here. It's 15. And as long as you can kind of tell me what to do or what or if you need help, I'm going to help, of course. But this should look familiar, I think. I hope. What do you think? Can you see 15 there?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would want to get one of the letters by itself, probably the X, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Um, First, let's just work with this blue equation. I'm going to write it again. Negative X plus 2y is equal to 10. Now, we could get rid of the 2y by subtracting 2y. So that'll give us negative x is equal to 10 minus 2y. But we don't really want negative x. We want the opposite of that, don't we?
Yeah.
So one thing I could say is there's really a negative 1. I'm going to make it shorter. There's really a negative 1 in front of this x. Don't write that because there's a shorter way. We want the opposite of x. We want the opposite of negative x. And if we do the
Right.
opposite of the left side, put a circle here, then we're going to want to do the opposite of the right side also. What's the opposite of negative x?
Positive X.
Right. And so we have to do the opposite on the other side. What's the opposite of 10?
Negative 10.
Good. And I'm going to put it right here. And what's the opposite of negative 2y? Positive 2.
Positive 2Y.
Now, what I really did, like I said, but it would have taken longer, was to multiply everything by negative 1. But now we have the x by itself. And I don't think I want to do the rest of this unless you want me to. Is we're going to replace this x in the other equation right here. Oops, right there. So we're going to end up writing, and I think I'll stop here. Instead of 3x minus 4y is equal to negative 20, we're going to put this red right here. We're going to put this 2y minus 10 here. And why don't you tell me if you think we need to finish this or if you feel confident what to do there.
No, we don't have to finish this one.
Mm-hmm. We've been doing it for a couple of weeks. All right.
Yeah.
So again, we just need to get the x by itself. Or if it would have been easier, we could have gotten the y by itself. Let's move on. Okay. So I'm trying to think if we can this one. Oh, by the way, we did the last time we did a few problems that they didn't allow you to use calculators with. So this is one where you can use a calculator. I couldn't do this
Gotcha.
in my head anyway. It's number 19. So, do you know how to, do you know which button to use on your calculator? I gotta get mine. Yeah, 30 that you have. Oh, there it is. Do you know the button to use on your calculator for that exponent for that 6 to the 4th power?
Um, I believe so.
I'm going to show you where to find it in a second if I have to bring up that little calculator stuff. But if not, I'm just going to tell you if you can see it. Actually, there's two ways to do this. So the button that you want for exponent before it, let's see, it's got a little arrow on it. So I'm going to show you on the screen real quick here. I'm sorry. See that little arrow right there?
Uh-huh.
That's the exponent raised to this power. When you want to raise something to a power, that's what that stands for.
Gotcha.
So you would hit the 6 key, then that raised to the power, and then the 4. And it'll look just like it looks on the screen there, and then hit equals. There's no way I could
Gotcha.
have done it in my head. So did you get 1296?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me show you the other way. If you forget where that button is 6 to the 4th power means 6.
Times 6 times 6 times 6.
You got it. And so go ahead and do that. That's a times in there. It only takes an extra second or so to do that. And then hit equals. You get the same answer.
Yes.
So the button is just slightly shorter. And this is not a, multiple choice, 1296. I think when you do the test, if you do it on a computer, you just type that in, I'm sure. You have a little
Gotcha.
Okay, let's move on. Let me write down that we skipped to 19. I skipped a couple of these on purpose because we haven't even talked about them yet. And I think I might want to do one more and then tell you why I skipped that problem, that word problem with the ladder. So I made it.
Okay.
Yeah. 22, I'm going to skip because we've already done it. In fact, let me just show it to you and then you can see if it looks familiar enough to you.
Gotcha.
22.
Which one did you say?
I'm going to write it down, but it's 22, and I'm going to put it, I thought I was going to put it on the screen here. 22. I'll have it on the screen here. There it is. So we could use is over of for that one, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to skip it then. And okay, this is a geometry problem, but I'm sure we can do it. I'm sure it's not going to be a big deal. You don't need a formula or anything like that for it. Put it up here. Oh, wait a minute. We do need a formula for this one. It's on your sheet on the
The
formula.
formula?
Yeah, I believe it's on there. Let me just double check.
They are on there. I just don't know what formula you need.
Oh, okay. So it should say a trapezoid. Do you have that sheet in front of you or on your? I can bring it up if you don't have it. I think
Trapezoid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it should say the area or capital A for area. It should
Mm-hmm.
say something like this is equal to B sub 1 plus B sub 2 over 2 times the height. Does it say something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, B stands for base. And when you have a trapezoid, this shape, this one is kind of turned, I'm going to say sideways. So I'm going to draw the same thing. I don't draw that well, but I'll do the best I can. The same shape. See, it's got a slanted side. So this would be the 12, right? And this would be the 14.
Yes.
And let's see. And this, actually, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. 18. Yeah, I'm going to have to skip this one because we haven't done Pythagorean's theorem yet.
That's fine.
Have you heard of Pythagorean theorem? Are you familiar with that at all?
I've heard of it before, yeah.
Okay. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Yeah, I'm going to save that until we do Pythagorean's theorem. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to find the height. H is for the height. And that'll be this distance right here. And it'll also be this distance here. And we're going to need to do the theorem first. So since we haven't done the theorem, let me just put, we'll start with Pythagorean's theorem next time we meet.
Okay.
Since we only have 15 minutes left or so before we wrap it up, I want to go back to the other problem that I skipped. And let's see here. Did I mail it to you? All right. So the problem that I skipped with the ladder, I'll go back and show you in a minute, is this type of problem. Except for it was a word problem.
Gotcha.
Okay. And after we do this, the other problem will make sense. So whenever you have a triangle like this, and they're only going to give you three types of triangles. Um, one of them, two of them are special, and the reason we call them special is because they only have angles that are like this, that are going to be 60 degrees and 30 degrees and 90 degrees, or 45 degrees and 45 degrees and 90 degrees. So this is one that has a 60-degree angle in it. And this little square here, can you tell me how many, this little red square, how many degrees is that?
90s.
Right. So this one's going to be 90 degrees. They almost never write 90 there, but they expect you to know that, and you did. And this other angle that they didn't write is going to be 30 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you how we can know that. First, that's the only kind they're going to give you, or that's one of the few types, one of two types they're going to give you. You're going to have those three numbers in them or the blue ones.
Okay.
But I wanted to tell you in general, even though you won't see any other type, all three angles always have to add up to 180. If you add up 60 and 30 and 90, you get 180. If you add up 45 and 45 and 90, you get 180. If they gave you other numbers besides, they're not going to. You would need trigonometry. They're not going to ask you to do that on this test, but they still add up to 180.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to use a word I don't like very often, and that's the word memorize. I'm going to ask you to memorize two ratios. They're called special ratios or special triangles. So whenever you've got this type of special triangle, I'm going to call it red, but it's called a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. These are the three numbers that I want you to, the three ratios that I want you to memorize. And I'm going to sketch it here. So this triangle, well, all triangles have three sides, but this triangle, these right triangles have a longest side. It's called the hypotenuse. But I want you to just actually, you don't have to make a sketch because it's going to be on here. So if this is the 60-degree angle here, and this is the 30 here, then these three sides have ratios of 1 and 2 and square root of 3. You don't need to write that. It's going to be on the recording. But I do want you to remember those three numbers.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll do more to memorize them next time. But since it's on the screen here, you can go back and watch it.
Okay.
30, 60, 90 has the ratio of 1 to 2 to square root of 3. You have to put these in the right place. Now, what we're going to do is write ratios to solve this triangle, to find x and find y. It doesn't matter which one we do first. I'm going to do x first. So I have a question that I think you know the answer to. Do you see how these two triangles, the one they drew and that I drew, kind of look the same? It's 1048. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which side on the triangle that I drew corresponds is the technical word, corresponds to the 10?
2.
Good. Which letter corresponds to the x?
Square root of 3.
You got it. And the y corresponds with the 1. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the ratio we're going to write, I'm going to start it and I'll bet you can finish it. I'm going to say x goes with radical 3, or x over radical 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the x and the radical 3 goes with, those two go together the same as what goes with what. Let me have you finish that. The x
Um,
came from the triangle they drew. So what number could I use from the triangle that they drew on the top? It's a mouthful.
um, if I heard that correctly, is it 30? I feel
Well,
like I heard that wrong though.
so let me use a different color here. See how the blue x goes with the blue radical 3?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. No, I get what you're saying then. It's gonna be 10,
Right.
10 and 2.
10 over 2, right?
Yeah.
Good. Now, my question is, haven't we seen this kind of problem before?
Yes.
And we cross multiply to get it, or we could just multiply by square root of 3. That's a quicker way to do it. In other words, they divided by square root of 3.
Yeah.
So we'll multiply both sides by square root of 3. I'm not even going to write the 1 here. I'm just going to write square root of 3 on this side and square root of 3 on this side, right? Those will cancel and we'll get x is equal to 10 over 2. Simplify 10 over 2. What's 10 divided by 2?
5.
Good. 5 root 3. And leave it that way. Don't type it in on your calculator or anything. It'll come out to be a decimal. So this side is 5 square root of 3. Okay.
Okay.
We will do the same thing with the y here. I'm going to switch to a different color though. I think I can. That would do it, but it won't. All right. I'm going to use red then again. So doesn't the y go with the 1?
Yes.
And we'll do the same thing. We could use 10 over 2 is equals y over 1. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
10 over 2 equals y over 1. Right? And can't we just multiply both sides by 1 to get rid of that 1 in the denominator?
Yeah.
We could do that in our head, can't we?
Yeah.
Because when we multiply by 1, it won't really change anything. In other words, y over 1 is the same as y, isn't it?
Yeah.
And 10 over 2 is the same as 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good. So this side is 5. And I don't know why I did that in red. So we found x and we found y. But here's
Mm-hmm.
the thing I want you to also notice about this. Isn't 5 half of 10?
Mm-hmm.
And isn't 1 also half of 2?
Mm-hmm.
There's another way to say that. Isn't 10 twice as much as 5 and 2 is twice as much as 1?
1.
Right. So we're multiplying all these sides by the same ratio. The ratio that we multiply that other side by, a little bit funkier, or divide by, depending on which way we're going, is square root of 3. And that is why you just need to memorize those three numbers, 1 and 2 and square root of 3. Oh, one more thing I want to ask you to do when you do these problems is draw two triangles, or I should say have two triangles drawn, the one they already drew, and then draw one of your own with these special numbers on it.
Okay.
And also draw it in the same orientation that they drew it in. So we've only got 8 minutes left, and you said you wanted to wrap it up before 11. So let me just do one thing before we do, and then I'll send you. Actually, I'm not going to send you any more because we have a lot more to practice on that GED practice test. Would you do some of those practice problems and let me know which ones you got stuck on?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't necessarily try the ones that we haven't
No,
gone
I don't
over.
want you to. Right, I got you.
Oh, okay, so just do the ones that we've done before.
Right, that look like they're either word problems or ratios or whatever. And if it looks like I never heard of that before, you probably didn't, or I haven't showed it to you yet. Like I said, this is the first time you've seen these special triangles, special right triangles. Um, and also, I sent you a link for a YouTube video, but it just had practice problems. Did you happen to see that?
I did see the link. I didn't get a chance to click on the
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
video.
So the nice thing about that, if you get a chance, is, and I hope you do, they work out all the problems on this YouTube channel.
Okay.
I think you put a little, Azaria loves it. You put a little heart next to it. So I know you saw that I sent
Oh yeah, I seen it, yeah.
you, right? And it remind me, when you look at them at home, are you looking at them on a tablet or on a phone?
It's normally
Right.
my phone. Um, I only normally use my tablet to get on Zoom.
Okay.
Do
But
you
you
think
have
it'll
a
be
tablet, right? It's probably easier on a tablet, is what I'm trying to say.
gotcha? That's fine then.
Do you know how to use the little more link? I think that's what it's called when you bring up a YouTube video.
I believe I do know what you're talking about.
Right. So if you click on more, one of the features that you have on there that's really helpful is it lists each problem and the timestamp on it. So you can just go down, like he'll say, at 3 minutes and 50 seconds, we're going to be working on factors or something like that. You
Gotcha.
could skip to the part that you know that you need to work on or that you want to learn, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you can find the more, it looks different on a PC. I know that it does because I use all three. I use a PC and I use a tablet and I use my phone. The phone I use the least often because it's so crowded and it's so hard to find anything. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'll use my tablet then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you'll see that. Plus, if you click on like the playlist, you can save the playlist. He's got.
Yeah, you can. I do have a few saved videos to a math playlist that I have on my YouTube.
Okay. Right. You can either put them on your own playlist or just save his playlist. He's got 60 stinking videos. At least four of them are full-fledged practice tests where he goes through every stinking problem.
Okay.
Also has on his playlist just, oh, here's a whole 15-minute video on just how to graph a line or something like that.
Okay.
So it's a very useful channel. I want to go over it more, and the next time I think I'm gonna play some and make sure that when I'm playing it, the audio also comes through. But since we're gonna wrap it up now, it's already, oh, we have 5 more minutes. What am I saying? We still have 5 more minutes. So in these next 5 minutes, let me go ahead. Don't hang up just yet, please.
Oh, I'm not.
Let me stop the recording here. Let me see how that works, and then see if I'm able to send it to you. So, oops, where'd it go? You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, accidentally. So if I stop